Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of our worldwide, very popular podcast. And I can tell you this, we have our most famous guest with us today. We have not had any guest with us that has had this many requests to come back on the show. We have not had a guest on our show that has had so many remarks, so many comments. And I'll tell you what, I think he's literally probably one of the our guests that has given us the wisest pieces of information for parents, families, and students in navigating the college admissions process. And I can promise you today, it's not going to be any different. Welcome to Committed, the College Planning Playbook. John Izzo, my friend, how are you doing today?
Living the dream, Rennie. Living the dream.
Every day in every way. My Steelers and your Steelers are 2-1, but I know you're more of an Eagles fan. So, that's okay. That's okay.
Listen, I'll tell you what, I'm going to shock the world right now. Eagles, yeah, they're on the other side of the state. They're fine. Pittsburgh, I don't root against them. By no means am I waving my terrible towel. The Buffalo Bills, though, baby.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's true. I forgot that.
That's my team.
And
it
looks solid.
They always do. We just have to wait until January. I'm loving the meltdown of Kansas City right now. I can't even lie.
Meltdown of Kansas City is a beautiful thing. It's the best thing in NFL football right now is the meltdown of Kansas City. I love it. Hey, you know what? There's this, though. At least we're not Browns fans. I mean, how are Browns fans right now handling watching Baker Mayfield tear it up in Tampa Bay? Well, I know we have the answer to that. John, why don't you introduce our guest today?
The legend himself. Yes. Is he one of the best college planners out there?
Yes.
But we are lucky that he gets to grace our show, and we're lucky that we get to call him a friend.
That's right, man.
Andrew Zaronic, owner of Class 101 Cleveland.
Okay, you guys are embarrassing me just a little bit.
No,
but the way we get through the NFL season is we do fantasy football. Josh Allen, he's my man. He's the guy that I got, and every week he comes through. That second week was a little rough, but he's come back. So I'm good. The Browns are going to be fine. It's the same old, same old. So we have nothing to add there. So anyways, thank you guys for having me. Yes, my name is Andrew. I'm in Cleveland. I am a Browns fan, but I'm here to talk more important things about college planning. And the reason why I think this topic is important is because there's a lot of drama and anxiety that goes into this entire process. If we can reduce that, just a small percentage, I think that is where, we're going to get some dividends for the family. So our goal here is to make sure that the drama is to a minimum, the anxiety is, cut in half. And the main thing is just to make sure that the student gets into their best fit college.
Well said. Now, just in case our producer didn't flash what the topic is today, what we will be covering is the common mistakes that parents and students make as they begin going through their college planning process. So that is the highlight. That's what we're going to cover today. Now, Rennie and I usually are taking the lead, sharing our insights, sharing our thoughts. We are thrilled that Andrew was here because he brings a different dynamic, a different perspective. So I'm actually excited to kind of kick back and just let you talk way more than I normally have to.
Thanks. I really appreciate the vote of confidence. And I guess the thing that I have to add to this conversation is I've been on both sides of the desk. As a parent, I've had my own kids go through this process, and then I see it, from their perspective. So parents, this is their first time going through the process. It's important to know that, they don't know what they don't know. So we're here to kind of guide them and help them and, give them suggestions. Ultimately, we're like a coach, a mentor. Yeah. Parents and families can decide to, take our advice, or they sometimes go rogue and they do their own thing. But again, my job is to kind of try to minimize that anxiety and drama, and try to help the student again ultimately get into their best fit college.
I love that. And, all of us come from the person who introduced us, I think, to college planning in many ways was Tom Pabin. And he talks to us about, when we're talking about a college planning process and, not only a return on investment financially, which I know what Andrew shares with you today will help you get a return on investment financially. I know it. I know it in the deepest knower I have. But I also know this. Tom used to talk about an emotional return on investment, and that's also what Andrew's talking about: the anxiety, the stress, the trepidation that can come through this process. Mom, Dad, student, if you pay attention to the tips Andrew's going to share with you today about the common mistakes that end up causing you to go into a pit, it's going to save you money. It's going to save you heartache. So I'm excited to dive in here. I'm going to share kind of some things that I've heard Andrew share before. I'm going to let him and John kind of wrestle with them a little bit and put some depth into them, because I know learning from Andrew has made a big difference in how I'm able to approach our students. So let's dive in today. We got 10 of them. And so make sure that you're taking notes, highlight these, because I promise they'll help you out. Number one mistake, Andrew, from what you've taught me, I'd love for you and Izzo to share and talk about, is starting the college planning process too late. Too late. Andrew, tell us about that, man.
Can I use another Thomism?
Yes.
Casualness causes casualties.
Mm.
A lot of times families wait until the start of their senior year. If you think about it, you generally should start applying at the start of your senior year. So there's a lot of work that needs to get done prior to that. So the student is not in school for 4 years prior to applying. They're actually only in for 3 years. So we want to try to set them up, for success. I hate to say, before I was in the business, our son was our guinea pig. And we waited until fall of his senior year. What that meant was we were spending a lot of weekends trying to visit colleges. We were trying to get him to take the ACT, one more time. We were trying to help him in any way that we can. Talk about drama. There was a lot of drama in our house. So we decided at that point, this got to be a better way. And I just feel deep down, if you can start the process sooner, it's better. And we just want to make sure that everything is taken care of, and we just don't wait until the last minute. And then again, there's a lot of mistakes that are made, and we just want to try to minimize those as best as possible.
Andrew, to piggyback off of all of those points, which are spot on, one of the notes that we kind of put on paper together earlier, avoiding the rush decisions.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that is so important because, somebody who was late to the game, can you accomplish all of the same things of somebody who has been more proactive? Yes. Is it going to be, as enjoyable of a process? I can almost guarantee no. But taking the time to research, to vet, to really thoroughly explore what's out there, what do you want, what's the best fit? Because so many people, I feel like they start exploring based off of assumptions or based on the talks from their friends or their family members. And they're not really taking on like, okay, I'm going to go look at this school and see it through my eyes versus the lens of somebody else. And when you were starting, at the beginning of your senior year, yes, you have that 8-month span until you officially have to make your decision. But senior year, I mean, anybody who's lived it or anybody who's currently living it, it goes quickly. And when you're trying to juggle all of these different things, it's almost inevitable that there are things and aspects of this that's going to be rushed. And this, up to this point for these kids and these families, outside of buying a house and outside of buying a car, this is your most expensive, important purchase, investment, whatever you want to call it. Most people don't rush those decisions. So keep that in mind.
It's a great point. Guys, I'd ask both of you. I know what my belief is, but what is soon enough? When would you say now's the time? right? We're telling them don't start too late, but when is early? When is a good time to start? Andrew, I'll start with you, then go to John.
Okay, it really kind of depends on the student. If we have a student that's, I'll say, a high achiever, very mature, and we've started with kids as soon as eighth grade, and just to kind of fast forward to the start of his junior year, that particular student that I'm thinking of has the 35 already on the ACT. So the ACT right now is not even on his radar. It's already been addressed. He's now doing the fun stuff, visiting schools, looking at programs, doing summer camps, so on and so forth. So generally, we say, somewhere between the freshman and sophomore year, we like kids to kind of get settled in high school. So, if they're, first time in the high school, there's a lot of uncertainty, but they need to kind of settle in. And once they are able to do that, I think that's the, right time to get started. Every student is different, but again, the sooner you start, the better.
John, when would you say is the prime time to start?
Similar response. Now, granted, I have yet to take on an eighth grader, and that's only because I haven't encountered somebody that I thought was mature enough to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I would say between that, middle of freshman year to middle to the end of sophomore year, I think is prime time. But, that is in regards to taking proactive steps.
Yep.
What I think needs to be done from the start of high school is making these students understand the importance of the courses they're taking and the grades that they're receiving.
That's how I'd answer the question too, guys. It depends on the student. I think ideally, almost every student's going to, for us, is going to be falling in that freshman year to get them rocking and rolling. We do have students that are taking in eighth grade classes that go towards their high school GPA. Obviously, as John alluded to, progressions matter. And so those students were maybe more ahead, more accelerated in their coursework, taking those courses in middle school that affect high school. That would be a time that I'd want to get my hands on a student, start working with a student so we don't fall into a hole, into a trap and get behind. But in general, I think the freshman year is the ideal time to get started. So, guys, mistake number one is you wait till the senior year to get started, and all the same stuff has to be done. Now you're overwhelmed, you're making mistakes, and you're making rush decisions. So don't make that mistake. Start early. All right, number two, second mistake, Andrew, is underestimating the real importance of financial planning from the get-go, from the very, very beginning. And I can tell you this is near and dear to my heart as a former higher education administrator. I would see students and their families come for freshman orientation, and for the first time, they realize the bill, and that's the first time they ever started communicating and talking about how it's going to be paid for. That is a disaster. Tell us a little bit more about what you've seen and why this is a big no-no.
Yeah, and we have seen that ourselves where, we have the financial aid letter, award letter comes to the family. They see the tuition, room and board. They see the merit scholarships, any kind of, financial aid that might be included in that. And then they ask the question, well, who pays the rest of this? And that's like the first time they've ever realized that there is that gap or whatever you want to call it. But I think most families, and I hate to say it, but I'm kind of guilty of this myself. As life goes on, we always have the opinion that, we'll figure it out later. And as I said, we only have the 3 years while the student is in high school, but we should start thinking about the college planning with possibly investing in a 529. I tell our families, I am not a financial planner, so I'm not the one to talk to about that. But you should start socking some money away so that, again, we're not getting to the point where, we're taking out unnecessary, loans with high interest rates and so on and so forth. So if there's one tip for me is the sooner you start planning financially, the better as well.
Yeah, love that. I think it's vitally important. And also what you said, John, yourself, certainly not me. What does that mean, getting great advice and having the conversation? Well, first of all, it begins at the family, and I believe students need to be a part of that conversation. But talk to a CPA, talk to your financial planner, and make sure that financial house is in order early, not waiting once again to your senior year. Definitely not waiting until you're showing up and having to actually pay the bill. Begin those conversations about what a college value looks like and how it's going to be paid for. All right. This third one is really, really good because I think this is where many people sit. right? This is where they sit. They totally mistake number three is they solely rely on ranking systems like U.S. News and World Report, Niche, Forbes. They solely utilize those for their college research. What kind of mistakes are going to happen there, Andrew?
Wait a second. So like somebody who graduates from a school on a highly ranked list, they're not automatically given this job making like 200,000 a year. That doesn't actually happen.
Andrew's laughing at you, John.
Hopefully you can all sense the sarcasm. Go ahead.
Right.
It, it really comes down to, and I've used this term I think twice now, the best fit for the student. And that what that comes down to is it's really about, looking at not only the academic part of it, but the social part of it. Not only the social part of it, but also the major. So there are certain schools that we would recommend for engineering. There are certain schools we wouldn't recommend, for engineering. So it's kind of important as you go through this process to create a college list that again fits what the student is looking for. How big, how small, in the city, out of the city, near a big city, away from a big city. And the most important thing in this whole process is visit. You gotta get on the college campus because yes, you can talk to your cousin's brother's uncle and they're going to tell you their opinion of a certain school. But unless your student can get on that campus, we want to make sure that, again, they feel comfortable and this is where they can see themselves thriving.
Yeah. What would you add to that, John? I know this is something you're passionate about too, making sure students really find, because in Pittsburgh, you have lots of options nearby and it's by reputation. But how do you guide your students through that, making sure that they're finding their best fit and not just going on street credit?
The rankings can be a resource. They could be a tool, especially for a student or a family that values reputation. They value cloud, whatever it is.
Brand. Yeah.
Brand. Yeah. You can use it as like a tool, but what my response to that is, and one of the, early on questions I ask these students, as we start to build this list of schools that we're going to start exploring, I want you to prioritize one of three things: reputation, vibe, cost. Now, without sacrificing too much of, any of the three, there's some parents and families that say, you know what, we want the best, most highly ranked school that we can find, regardless of where it is, regardless of the environment, regardless of how much it costs. That's just what we value. And that's fine. And then, we get into, well, or is it somebody that wants, like that fit that Andrew keeps talking about? But I think to kind of go along with this, you have to tour, you have to see every college is going to have its own bread and butter. And these rankings, I mean, there's a lot of different rankings for a reason. And there's a lot of, rankings that are credible. And there's ones that, colleges pay to get on a list and whatever else. So don't just rely on it. You need to rely on what you see, what you feel. And that kind of goes to, creating a diverse list of schools to where like you can't just have, 20 schools on the Common App that's within the top 50 colleges. You're going to be disappointed. I can almost guarantee you. So take that for what it is.
And I don't want to jump back to point one, but this is why it's important to get started early because you can lay some of this groundwork and what is the student really looking for? And it's just, to wait until, the start or the summer between the junior and senior year, just not enough time. So that's why it's kind of important to get on the college campus. And, even if the family has younger siblings, it would be really smart to let them go as well so that by the time they get into the process, they kind of know what they're looking for. And that helped us in our own personal situation. Our youngest kind of knew before everyone else got started where she was interested and stuff like that.
I love that. And what I tell people too is like, you don't go buy a car just because Consumer Report says it's the number one car. It's a factor you consider, but there's a lot of other factors that you consider as well. And once again, be educated. And the best thing you can do is tour a campus. And to Andrew's point, this takes time to be educated consumer and be educated about your investment you're making. So start early. All right, guys. Issue number 4, big mistake. And I want, before we share this one, for you to realize The three of us, all three of us, are parents. All three of us are parents. And so we come from not a place of judginess, but we come from a place of experience. We've seen this, and this is what we see that is really, really hard. I used to see this in my time as a dean of students, students coming and saying they were studying X. And the reason they were studying X is because mom or dad told them that that's what they needed to study, but they had no passion for it. Right. And what is this? This is parents imposing their own aspirations on their kiddos, whether that's what you want to study, whether that's where you go to school. Parents, this isn't your ride. This is about your kid, and your student is different. Andrew, tell us about some of the things you've seen in your experience that when parents, overextend their aspirations and put them on their students, that can really cause a train wreck.
It for my wife and I, it was probably one of the hardest things to do when we were taking our kids on campus visits. I would get super excited, or I would not get so excited about schools, and I would just do the best I possibly could to keep my opinion to myself. And it was always very fascinating after the tour to find out, so what did you think? Sometimes we agreed, and there are times where we couldn't have been more totally opposite. So it's important as the parent, again, you're there to kind of help them and guide them, just like we do as college advisors. But at the same time, try not to impose your opinion. Where your brother went or where you went is not important. It's more important about, I hate to say it again, finding the best fit college for the student. And that's different for every student.
Absolutely. Personally, I think a great approach to this is when you're touring a campus or you're talking about a school, let your student speak first. Before you give your critique, before you give your commentary, let them speak first, right? Your voice as a parent has so much power and so much influence. Don't underestimate. If you want to truly find out what your student thinks about a school, let them share first what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, and then you have the opportunity to speak into it next. So,
if I can jump in real quick.
yeah.
Just even the same thing to register for the college visit, let the student do it. Let them understand what the process is like. When you get on campus, let the student kind of lean into the admissions office and say, "Hi, my name is, and I'm here for, a campus tour." Let them take charge of their destiny, because if you don't, one, they're going to blame you because they didn't pick the right school. But more importantly, part of this process going through high school is the maturing process. And eventually they're going to be on their own. So that first year in college is going to be a little different than their previous 18 years. So we just want to make sure that they are responsible. They're able to, take care of themselves and in essence, be able to communicate and so on and so forth. So I think that's very important as well.
One of the best things my mom did for me when I was a senior in high school is as I started my senior year, she goes, "This is your trial run in college. And I'm going to give you as many liberties as I can that are reasonable for you. But, that realizing in a year from now, you're going to be very independent." And it's probably, I started setting my own appointments. I started being responsible for all of those things because and what was cool is with my mom around, I had guardrails. I wasn't going to run into the ditch, right? And she gave me freedoms that, some of my friends didn't have. But it was probably the best thing I did because her guardrails were going to come off when I went to college. And now I was ready to soar at a different level. So very important. This isn't mom and dad. I'm a mom. I mean, I'm not mom. I'm a dad. We are moms and dads in our family. All of us understand that. I have aspirations. I have dreams, and I have hopes for my daughters. We're touring campuses coming up with our junior, but it's not about me. I've been to college, and my true hope is that my daughters find their best fit and they're able to soar. All right. Point number 5. This is a big one, guys. And Andrew, we see it way too often. And we know it's hard. I know it's hard because I'm living it right now, trying to figure out how to visit colleges early and not wait until the last minute. Why does this cause so much pain and frustration for the college process?
I think the bottom line is, life happens.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to the financial end of it, we'll figure it out later, or we'll do it later. I hate to bring up COVID, but a lot of families were planning on doing the college visits during spring break. And we know what happened at that point. Everything got shut down. That's obviously something that nobody could predict, but that's where, again, if they would have gotten on campus sooner, it would have helped them, go through the process. So, the other thing that I guess I would mention is, there is a learning curve. Once you've been on one college campus, you'll notice that a lot of the visits are very similar, but it's kind of breaking the seal and making sure that, you got everything down. The most important thing is you show up on time, and then, you spend the, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is on campus. But once you get that learning curve, it'll go much smoother registering and so on and so forth.
Yeah. John, what have you seen here, man?
Yeah, I mean, echo what you guys said about the importance of it. What I think is really important too, it's the mindset that you have going in. And yes, are these tours inconvenient? They're, to get the most out of an experience, you want to go, when school is in session.
Yes.
Typically, they're Monday through Friday from, there's one at 9 a.m. and there's one at 1 p.m. When there's traveling involved, parents taking off work, students taking off school. Yeah, it's a pain. But I feel like the mindset that you have going into it and looking at it not as something that's inconvenient, but something that's exciting, I feel like can then be pushed over to the student. Because we've seen kids who are thrilled to go look at schools, and then we've seen kids that are being drugged to go look at a school by their parents. And I feel like a lot of that is based on how the parents are portraying this experience. So I would suggest, as you're going through this, try to make it exciting, try to make it fun. This is, again, like going to an open house for buying your first home, or, like it could be something that's exciting and it could be a fun experience versus like, oh, we have to get this many tours in at this point, and then it appears to be a job.
Yeah, I think this is spot on. Number one, if your students is very excited and they need to be on these college campuses because they're not all apples and apples. You're comparing apples and oranges, and they need to see the strength of American higher education being in the diversity of American higher education. So all of these institutions are different. And as you guys are talking about this, how do you find their best fit? Well, you got to go give them a test drive. And John, what you said is critical, right? Better than nothing's going in the summer, but a campus is going to feel dead in the summer because the life of the campus is the student body and the excitement and the energy. And the second thing I'll say is, when are you going to have time? This is one of the ways I challenge students and all the things we ask them to do. Like, well, when I have time, when are you going to have time? My daughters are going to miss a Friday football game. They're both cheerleaders. It's just what has to happen. You have to find the time and make it a
Have
problem.
to make the time. That's so well said.
Because you're never going to have time as a family. You'll always have the game. You'll always have the activity. And the reality is you're going to have to make it a priority. If your student doesn't have excitement around this, oh, I don't know what I want. Man, take them on college campuses. Give them vision, right? Let them start seeing what college life could be like, and that might increase that passion in there. All right, so key. I think it's probably one of the most things, even if it's not an official tour and you're just going on vacation, you can drive through campuses when you're in that city. Maybe if it's not even a school your student's interested, that's all right. They're seeing campuses.
Mhm.
So, guys, these are just five, right? We've talked about five already. Number one, starting the process late. That's going to cause pain, right? It's going to be rushed. It's going to be stressed. Underestimating the financial planning that goes behind this. This is typically going to be a six-figure investment for an undergraduate college degree. Typically, so you need to plan for it appropriately. No one wants surprises when they're heading off to college, financial surprises. Relying solely on, brand name, credibility, college, rankings. We need to go deeper in our research so we really understand our options. That's mistake number three. Number four, parents, your guides, your supporters, but it's truly not about your aspirations. It's helping bring out the best potential and bringing out the passion in your student. And tip number five, this is a mistake, guys, skipping the visits till late. You should start those early because it can only create passion and enthusiasm and help your student become more educated about where their best fit might be. Now, Rennie, you said 10. You said 10 tips. That's okay, because we're going to come back for our next episode. We're going to go through mistakes 6 through 10, and you're going to join us because you don't want to miss this. Andrew's going to be with us, and we're going to talk about 5 more common mistakes that cost time, that cost money, and that cost heartache on our next episode of Committed, the College Planning Playbook.
Check out part 2.